Hello there, welcome to the very beginning of solidity, to the origin of form itself. Tonight, we descend not into a place, but into a process. We journey to where chaos yields, with infinite patience, to order, to the darkness before the light, the silence before the chime. This is the story of the first whisper of a crystal, the moment geometry is born from the formless heart of our planet. This is the birth in darkness. Our story begins in a realm of pure potential, a superheated, mineral-rich fluid, a silicate soup held in the utter blackness miles beneath the surface. Here, there's no light, only heat, a blistering, relentless heat that would vaporize anything we know, and pressure, a crushing, omnipresent force, millions of times greater than at the surface, squeezing atoms together with the weight of continents. This is the womb of the earth. It is not a void. It is a seething, chaotic, yet strangely viscous ocean of elements, silicon and oxygen, aluminum and iron, calcium and sodium, all dancing in a furious, random ballet. In this chaos, there is a cooling, not a sudden chill, but an almost imperceptible loss of energy over millennia. As the temperature drops by a degree over a century, the frantic dance of atoms begins to slow. Their kinetic energy, their desire to flee from one another, diminishes, and in that slowing, a new force emerges from the quantum background, the subtle, specific attraction of chemical affinity. Certain atoms begin to recognize one another. A silicon atom, with its 4 eager arms, reaches out for oxygen. An oxygen atom, in turn, seeks partnership. This is not a decision. It is a statistical inevitability, given enough time and the right conditions. It is the universe leaning toward stability, and the most stable arrangement for these atoms is not a random cluster, but a pattern, a repeating, three-dimensional grid, a lattice. Imagine the first few atoms, by chance, falling into a perfect alignment. A silicon atom bonds with 4 oxygens, forming a tiny tetrahedron, a pyramid with a triangular base. This tetrahedron is the fundamental building block, the seed of quartz, of so much of the Earth's crust. In the furious broth, this tiny ordered structure is an island of calm. It is a template. Now something magical happens. This tiny seed exerts a quiet influence on the chaos around it. It is energetically favorable for other atoms in the soup to attach themselves in the same pattern. It is easier to continue the existing order than to start a new one. Like a whisper in a silent hall, the pattern begins to propagate. One atom adds to the corner, then another. The tetrahedron replicates, linking corner to corner, building outwards in 3 dimensions. A scaffold of invisible geometry begins to grow in the dark. This growth is not like that of a plant or an animal. There is no cell division, no consuming of food. It is a passive, exquisite accretion. Atoms from a fluid simply bump into the growing face of the crystal lattice, and, if their orientation and energy are just right, they stick. They lock into their preordained position in the pattern. The crystal grows layer by atomic layer, plane by geometric plane. The process is unbelievably slow. We measure it in microns per year. A single, perfect crystal the size of your fingertip might take tens of thousands of years to form in these depths. Its growth is a record of time itself, a diary written in atomic layers, each one a year, a century, a millennium of patient addition in the absolute dark. There is no witness to this birth, no light to gleam off its nascent faces, only the immense pressure, the fading heat, and the silent, relentless mathematics of geometry asserting itself against entropy. This is the first victory of order over randomness, the first dream of a solid world, dreamed in the planet's deep, hot sleep. As you listen, imagine yourself shrinking to the size of an atom, adrift in that warm, dense fluid. Feel the slow, gravitational drift towards that growing lattice of silicon and oxygen. Feel the moment of connection, the quantum snap as you become part of something larger, something ordered, something that will, millions of years later, catch the light and be called beautiful. You are not just hearing a story. You are witnessing the foundational act of the mineral world. As the microscopic scaffold of the crystal lattice extends its invisible fingers into the surrounding fluid, it begins to shape not just itself, but the very medium from which it was born. This is a quiet revolution in the dark. The growing crystal acts as a chemical filter, a selective sieve. It preferentially pulls specific atoms from the chaotic soup, those that fit perfectly into its geometric puzzle. Silicon and oxygen are the primary masons, but others are invited as guests, depending on the recipe of the fluid. Perhaps a touch of aluminum here, a trace of lithium there. These guest atoms, substituting for silicon in the lattice, will later be responsible for a universe of color and property. But for now, they are simply part of the growing order. The fluid itself changes character around the growing crystal. It becomes slightly depleted of the ingredients the crystal craves. A gradient forms, a zone of order amidst the chaos. This is the crystal's first influence on its world. It is not a conscious act, but a thermodynamic imperative. The system moves towards equilibrium, and the crystal's growth is the pathway. Now consider the shape. Why does a crystal of quartz grow into a six-sided prism, capped by a pyramid? Why does halite insist on being a perfect cube? The answer is written in the atomic lattice. The external form of a crystal is a direct, macroscopic echo of its internal, invisible symmetry. The flat faces we later admire are not arbitrary. They correspond to the planes within the lattice, where atomic bonds are strongest and growth is slowest. The crystal doesn't choose its shape. It reveals it, like a sculptor removing everything that does not look like the form trapped within the stone. It grows fastest in directions where atoms can attach most easily, eventually ceasing growth on the faces that are most stable. What remains is a geometric solid, a testament to the hidden symmetry of atomic forces. In the absolute darkness, this process faces challenges. Impurities, atoms that don't fit the pattern, may bump into the growing face. Sometimes they are ejected, pushed away by the relentless logic of the lattice. Sometimes they are incorporated, creating a flaw, a dislocation in the perfect order. These flaws are not failures. They are records of the environment, tiny scars from the crystal's battle with imperfection. A perfectly flawless crystal is a theoretical ideal. A real crystal is a history book. its imperfections telling stories of changes in temperature, pulses of fluid composition, and the immense, patient pressure. The pressure itself is a silent sculptor. It can distort the lattice, compress it, or even cause it to transform into a different, denser crystal structure altogether. This is how, in the deepest mantles, carbon subjected to unthinkable force rearranges its bonds from the layered sheets of graphite to the indomitable tetrahedral network of diamond. That transformation is not a growth from a fluid, but a solid-state rebirth under tyranny. It is a different kind of birth in darkness, one of sheer force transmuting one order into a superior, harder order. But back in our hydrothermal womb, the crystal continues its glacial growth. It is now perhaps the size of a grain of sand. It is a complete, perfect geometric entity, though still subsumed in rock and fluid. It may never see the light of day. Most crystals born in these depths don't. They are destined to remain forever entombed, components of a granite pluton or a metamorphic schist, their individuality lost to the greater rock. Their birth was for themselves alone, a private expression of order in the dark. Yet, for a fortunate few, the story continues. Tectonic forces may slowly, over eons, uplift the rock containing them. Erosion may wear away the miles of overburden. The crystal's journey to the light is a geological epic, a passive ride on the conveyor belt of plate tectonics. It is born in profound darkness and heat, and may emerge into sunlight and air after 100 million years, unchanged at its core, a traveler from another world. As you sink deeper into this image, let the soundscape evolve. The deep tectonic hum is now threaded with a new, delicate texture, the sound of very fine, very high-pitched filaments growing, a sonic representation of the lattice expanding in 3 dimensions. The random pings have organized into a softer, more regular shimmer, like the sound of diamond dust falling in slow motion through a vacuum. It is the sound of structure emerging. Let us now focus on the most profound aspect of this dark genesis, the silence and the slowness. In our human scale, slowness is often associated with tedium, but in the geological womb, slowness is the prerequisite for perfection. The agonizingly gradual cooling, the patient saturation, the micron by micron accretion, these are not limitations. They are the tools of a master artisan. Time is the solvent that allows impurity to diffuse away, that permits atoms to find their perfect fit, that enables the crystal to exert its subtle, selective pull on the surrounding chaos. Consider the alternative, rapid cooling. When magma erupts violently to the surface, it chills in minutes or days. Atoms are frozen in place, mid-motion, locked into a chaotic, glassy disorder obsidian. It is beautiful in its own right, a frozen snapshot of liquid chaos, but it lacks the internal rhyme and reason of a crystal. It has no repeating lattice, no cleavage planes, no inherent geometric form. The birth we are describing is the antithesis of volcanic violence. It is a meditation. It requires a stable, insulated environment, a pocket of stillness within the dynamic earth, where the only change is an infinitely gradual loss of heat. This is the cradle of crystalline perfection. Within this cradle, different minerals crystallize in a sequence, a Paragenesis, like actors taking the stage in a play written by chemistry and cooling rates. The first to form are often those with the highest melting points, like olivine, settling out like a dark green snow in the molten chamber. As the temperature drops further, others take their turn. Feldspar, mica, and finally quartz, which often fills the last remaining spaces. Clear, crystalline cement binding the earlier formed minerals together. Each crystal's birth is timed to its specific chemical and thermal destiny. And what of the space in which they grow? The crystal needs room. In a tightly packed magma, crystals will interfere with each other, creating interlocking, anhedral shapes without well-defined faces. But when a crystal grows into an open cavity, a geode, a fracture, vapor bubble, it is free to express its ideal form. It can grow unimpeded, projecting its internal symmetry outwards into the void. These are the crystals we covet. The terminated points, the glittering druzy coatings, the spectacular gemmy facets. Their beauty is a direct result of the gift of space, of darkness, and of time. This process is not unique to our planet. The same principles of atomic ordering under slow cooling govern the formation of crystals in the vacuum of space. Chondrules and meteorites, the crystalline structure of some asteroid metals. They tell us that crystallization is a universal language of matter seeking order. The birth in darkness is a cosmic phenomenon. We are witnessing a fundamental tendency of the universe, played out in the specific, wet chemistry of Earth's crust. Now, bring your awareness to the present crystal, still growing in our mind's eye. It is no longer just a chemical structure. It is a metaphysical anchor. In its absolute darkness, it is a beacon of order. In its immense slowness, it is a lesson in patience. In its silent growth, it is a testament to processes that proceed without witness, without applause, without purpose other than to obey the deep laws of physics and chemistry. It is a form of meditation made solid. As you breathe, imagine your thoughts as the chaotic, warm fluid, and imagine a point of stillness, of intention, forming within that chaos, not forcing, not striving, but simply allowing a pattern to emerge, a pattern of breath, a pattern of peace. Let that internal lattice grow, one anchored breath at a time, drawing order from the soup of your daily mind. The crystal teaches us that order is not imposed from outside. It emerges from within, given the right conditions of stillness and time. The soundscape now deepens to reflect this meditative state. The high-frequency shimmer of growth softens, becoming more sustained and tonal. The deep tectonic hum recedes to a mere vibration, a foundation. A new, pure, and very slow pulse emerges, perhaps once every 30 seconds. It is the pulse of a single atomic layer completing itself. It is the heartbeat of geological time. Each pulse is an epic. Between pulses, there's only the sustaining tone of latent order, the sound of potential becoming actual. One infinitely patient step at a time. Our crystal's journey in the dark is nearing its completion, not as a finished object, but as a perfected process. It has consumed its local environment of the necessary atoms. The fluid around it is cooled to equilibrium with the surrounding rock. Growth slows from microns per millennium to virtually nothing. The final atomic layer settles into place. The crystal is now a complete, self-contained universe of geometric law, a closed system of breathtaking symmetry, suspended in solid stone. But this is not death. It is a transition to a different kind of existence, one of permanence and memory. The crystal now enters an even longer phase, one of simple being. For millions, even billions of years, it will sit in its rocky tomb, unchanged. The frantic tectonic dances of the planet's crust may move it, uplift it, fold it, but its internal lattice, that perfect atomic scaffolding, will resist. It may develop internal strains, minute fractures called healing feathers, but its essential identity remains. It becomes a time capsule, preserving not biological history, but the physical and chemical conditions of its birth. The temperature, the pressure, the exact composition of that primordial fluid are all encoded in its trace elements, its isotopic ratios, its fluid inclusions. This is the ultimate meaning of its birth in darkness. It is a witness, a silent, unmoving, impossibly patient witness to deep time. While mountains rise and erode, seas open and close, and life explosively diversifies on the surface above, the crystal simply is. It does not record these events as a film would, but its very existence is a testament to the stability of natural law across the eons. The forces that birthed it are the same forces that shape continents and stars. It is a single, tangible point of connection to a past that is otherwise utterly lost. Now we must prepare to leave it. For this crystal story, in the context of our series, is just the first movement. It is the prototype, the You Are crystal. From this basic principle of orderly growth under pressure and heat will spring all the wild diversity we will explore in the chapters to come. The gigantic selenite spears of Nika, the royal colors of amethyst and sapphire, the hidden geodes, and the piezoelectric hum of quartz. But they all begin here, in this profound, hot, order dark. As we withdraw our awareness from the microscopic lattice and the immense geological time scale, we bring back a sense of deep calm. The lesson of the crystal's birth is not one of dramatic action, but of profound allowance. It is about creating the internal conditions, the stillness, patience, the right environment for something perfect and beautiful to emerge on its own. It teaches that the most solid and enduring things are built slowly, from the inside out, according to a pre-existing, harmonious pattern. As this chapter closes, let the soundscape guide you back to the surface of your own awareness. That slow, epical pulse begins to space out further. The pure tone of crystalline structure starts to gently fade, not in volume, but in presence, as if receding into the distance of time and rock. The deep foundational hum of the earth remains, but it is softer now, a comforting reminder of the stable ground beneath you. The last sonic elements to fade are the occasional, distant pings, the echoes of atomic bonds forming somewhere, far away in the metaphorical dark, perhaps in another crystal just beginning its own million-year journey. Let these sounds become thoughts, and then let the thoughts dissolve into the quiet darkness behind your eyelids. You have witnessed a birth that never truly ends. The crystal is still there, in the mind's eye, perfect, silent, geometric thought. Hold that image as you drift. It is an anchor of order in a world of change, a testament to the slow, beautiful processes that are always unfolding, unseen, beneath the surface of things. Welcome to a cathedral built not by hands, but by time and water, to a chamber where the very air is a slow-moving fluid, and the pillars are not of stone, but of solidified light. We descend now from the universal, microscopic birth of crystals into a specific, overwhelming reality, the realm of the giants. This is the story of the cave of crystals, of Nika, and places like it, where geology transcends the mineral and becomes the monumental. This is not merely growth. This is a dream of stone, dreamed on a scale that dwarfs human imagination. Our journey takes us deep beneath the Chihuahuan Desert in Mexico, into the heart of a mountain forged from volcanic fury. But the fury is long past. What remains is a profound, steamy stillness. Over 500,000 years ago, a magma chamber lurked here. As it cooled, it released not just crystals into solid rock, but also scorching, mineral-rich fluids into the network of fractures and cavities around it. One such cavity was destined for greatness. For this cave to be born, a perfect, stable paradox was required, a source of immense, consistent heat from the still-cooling magma below, and a constant supply of mineral-laden water, saturated with calcium and sulfate. The water, heated by the deep earth to around 58 degrees Celsius, 136 degrees Fahrenheit, seeped into the cavern. The cave was flooded, a submerged vault in absolute darkness. And here, in this hot, aquatic darkness, the mineral anhydrite, abundant in the surrounding limestone, began to dissolve. But chemistry is full of quiet miracles. Anhydrite, at this precise and steady temperature, is soluble in water. Gypsum, its chemical cousin, selenite, is not. As the hot water dissolved anhydrite from the walls, it became supersaturated with sulfate and calcium, and slowly, inexorably, this excess began to precipitate out of the solution, but it did not form dull crusts. It formed selenite crystals. Gypsum. The key was the stability. The cave remained flooded, and the temperature held at that magic number, fluctuating perhaps a degree or two over centuries. This stability lasted for hundreds of thousands of years. In this vast, dark, hot aquarium, there were no currents, no earthquakes to shatter delicate forms. The crystals grew in total suspension, freed from the constraints of gravity, nourished from all sides by the saturated water. They did not grow outward from a wall. They grew freely into the void. And grow they did, not in the tight, interlocking masses of granite, but in breathtaking isolation. The first seed crystals formed on the cavern floor, walls, and ceiling. And then they simply continued. Layer upon translucent layer of gypsum added to their forms. The growth rate, though still infinitesimal by human standards, was lightning fast in geological terms for such crystals, perhaps a few centimeters every 1,000 years. Over 500,000 years, this relentless, patient addition produced beams of pure selenite longer than buses, wider than tree trunks, weighing over 50 tons. The largest recorded in Nika is 12 meters long and 4 meters in diameter. They are not just crystals. They are crystalline sequoias, a forest of glassy obelisks growing in a pitch-black geothermal lake. Imagine the scene. A cavern chamber, discovered only by the ruthless pursuit of miners, drilling for lead and silver. The water that had nurtured the giants for millennia had been pumped out, revealing a sight no human eye had ever beheld. The beams of selenite crisscross in chaotic, dazzling profusion, like the spears of fallen angels in some infernal, glittering armory. Their surfaces are not flawlessly smooth. They are rippled, textured like frozen liquid, capturing the slow pulse of their growth. They are translucent, not transparent, glowing with a soft, moon-like luminescence when light first touches them after 500,000 years of darkness. This is our stage, a chamber where humidity is 100%, and the air temperature remains a deadly 50 degrees Celsius, 122 degrees Fahrenheit, a place where humans can survive only in special cooling suits, and even then, for mere minutes. It is an environment that belongs entirely to the crystals. We are not explorers here. We are intruders in a sanctuary of slow time and immense, silent beauty. As you begin to visualize this space, let the soundscape deepen. The plink of water droplets is the only temporal marker. Their rhythm is random, sleepy. The thick air seems to absorb all other sound. But beneath it, if you listen with the cave's own patience, you might hear a faint, crystalline sigh, the almost imperceptible sound of a massive crystal beam, under its own immense weight, settling by a molecular fraction. It is the sound of deep time resting. To stand in the presence of such giants is to experience the sublime distortion of scale. The human mind is calibrated to trees, buildings, mountains, objects whose size speaks of age, but within a comprehensible time frame. Here the scale is deceptive. A crystal pillar wider than your living room did not grow like a tree, adding annual rings. It grew atom by atom, a molecular accretion so slow that its immense size becomes a direct manifestation of time's mass. Its volume is not just space occupied. It is duration made visible. Each cubic meter of that pristine selenite represents tens of thousands of years of unwavering chemical dedication. Let us move closer to one of these giants. Its form is not a perfect, textbook prism. The crystals are often skewed, curved, intergrown in spectacular, chaotic clusters. This is not imperfection, but a diary of their environment. They grew in a buoyant medium, suspended in water. They competed for the mineral soup, sometimes pushing against each other, sometimes fusing together. Their curves record the subtle, slow convection currents in the hot water, currents moving over centuries. Their transparency is marbled with ghostly inclusions, trapped fluid bubbles from the ancient aquifer, each a tiny, sealed aquarium holding water that hasn't seen the surface for 500,000 years. The surface of the crystal is a landscape unto itself. Run your gaze in your mind's eye along a facet. It is not a pane of glass. It is rippled, like sand on a tidal flat, but frozen in mineral form. These ripples are growth steps, when new layers of gypsum began and paused, a record of minuscule fluctuations in temperature or saturation. In places, the surface appears frosted, a velvety texture that scatters light into a soft glow. This is not damage, it is a patina of time, a delicate rind formed in the final stages of growth, or as the water level slowly changed. The heat and humidity of the cave are not incidental. They are the architects. The constant 50 degrees Celsius heat was the engine that kept the anhydrite dissolving. The 100% humidity, now a threat to us, was the nurturing blanket. In this environment, even the air is a participant. The moment the cave was drained, the giants began a new, much slower phase of their existence, exposure. The stable, wet, dark womb was gone. Now they faced the dry, oxygen-rich air and the subtle, insidious threat of their own stability. Some scientists believe that without the buffering water, the crystals could eventually begin to degrade, to turn cloudy and crumble. Their existence in the light might be a fleeting moment in their long lifespan, a brief, dazzling reveal before a return to obscurity, or a slow metamorphosis into dust. This leads us to a humbling thought. We discovered them in what might be their old age, in a transitional phase of their million-year life. We see them not as growing infants, but as venerable elders, having achieved their full glory in the dark, now resting in a new and alien element. Our awe is therefore tinged with a sense of fragility, of witnessing something ancient and potentially ephemeral. As you mentally navigate this forest of stone light, consider the silence that reigned here for all but the last few moments of its history. No bat chirps, no wind, no scuttling of insects. Only the occasional plink and the tectonic sigh of the mountain. This silence is as much a part of the crystals as their chemical formula. They are creatures of silence, formed by it, embodying it. Their stunning visual spectacle is the inverse of an explosion. It is an implosion of beauty, drawn inward and solidified over ages in perfect quiet. The cave itself is not a passive container. Its shape influenced the crystals. Where space was constrained, crystals are smaller, more densely packed. Where a large void opened, the giants could stretch out. The cavern is a negative mold of the crystalline growth that filled it. Walking through it is like walking through the ghost of a vanished body of water, whose skeleton remains, glittering and immense. Now, let the soundscape adapt to this closer perspective. The shimmering pad of light reflection grows more complex, with deeper, resonant tones as if from the cores of the largest crystals. The water droplets now hit not just a pool, but sometimes the crystal surfaces themselves, producing a softer, more melodic tink that rings with pure, bell-like tone before being swallowed by the humid air. This is the cave's music, a sporadic, timeless carillon played by gravity and condensation. The existence of such a place forces a profound shift in perspective. We are not merely looking at large crystals. We are witnessing the consequence of uninterrupted process. In our world, continuity is rare. Seasons change. Civilizations rise and fall. Climates shift. But within that mountain, for over 500,000 years, the conditions remained almost perfectly constant. The heat from below was steady. The supply of mineral-rich water was reliable. The tectonic peace was unbroken. This stability is the true marvel, the silent miracle that allowed the mundane process of crystallization to achieve the sublime. Think of the Earth's crust as a restless, dynamic entity. Faults slip, magma intrudes, rocks metamorphose. Yet here was a pocket of profound stasis, a bubble of chemical consistency, suspended in the geological chaos. It is as if the planet itself held its breath in this one spot, allowing a single, beautiful thought to develop to its ultimate conclusion without interruption. This challenges our notion of Earth as a place of constant, violent change. It is also a place of immense, focused patience. The giants themselves are now dormant. Their growth has ceased. The pumping of the mine waters arrested their development, freezing them in a specific moment of their history. They are now relics of a lost environment, like insects trapped in amber. But their dormancy is not inert. They continue to interact with the new atmosphere, perhaps contracting minutely as they lose moisture, reacting slowly to the change in chemistry. They are in a state of geological adjustment, a process that will take more millennia to unfold. This leads us to contemplate their future. The cave of crystals is a finite phenomenon. Without the hot, mineral-saturated water, no new giants will be born there. The existing ones may, over vast stretches of time, become opaque, may develop a crust of secondary minerals, or may even slowly dissolve if waters with a different chemistry ever return. Their glorious exposure to human sight is but a flicker in their long existence. This imbues our viewing with a poignant, almost sacred quality. We are seeing something that, in the full span of its life, is meant to be unseen. The cave also speaks to the sheer abundance of our planet. The calcium sulfate that formed these crystals is not a rare compound. It is common gypsum. What is rare is the coincidence of time, space, and stability to transform the common into the extraordinary. It is a lesson in potential. The mundane, given enough time and the right quiet conditions, can become the miraculous. Now, let your imagination expand beyond Nika. While perhaps the most spectacular, it is not alone. Other giant crystal caves exist or are theorized, some still filled with water, awaiting discovery. Each would have its own slight variation in chemistry, temperature, and geometry, producing crystals of different habits, sizes, and clarities. They form a hidden network of crystalline cathedrals deep in the Earth's crust, a secret, glittering counterworld to the one we inhabit. They are the planet's private art galleries, curated by thermodynamics and visited only by time and water. As you sit with this image, a global network of silent, glittering caverns, feel a sense of deep planetary intimacy. Beneath the soil, the cities, the forests, and the oceans, such wonders are sleeping. Their existence does not require our acknowledgement. They are part of Earth's inner life, a slow, beautiful process, ongoing irrespective of the surface drama. In this cave, the concept of jewel is reinvented. A jewel is typically something small, cut, polished, and set by human hands for adornment. Here, the jewels are raw, monumental, and set by the earth itself in a vault of its own making. They adorn nothing but the darkness. Their value is not in carat or clarity, but in the epic story of their formation. They are jewels of process, not just of substance. The soundscape now deepens to reflect this expanded, timeless view. The sporadic water drop melody fades further into the background. The low, shimmering resonance from the crystals becomes more prominent, forming slow, shifting drones that interact with one another, like the harmonic hum of planetary ley lines. A new, very low-frequency pulse emerges, the imagined sound of the Earth's heat engine, the deep geothermal heartbeat that fed this cave for millennia. It is a sound of immense, gentle power. As we prepare to leave this cavern of giants, we carry with us a new calibration for beauty and time. The Cave of Crystals is more than a geological wonder. It is a metaphysical touchstone. It represents the ultimate expression of growth without hurry, of achievement without ambition, of splendor without an audience. In a world that equates speed with progress and noise with importance, the silent, patient, colossal growth of these selenite beams is a profound counter-narrative. The giants teach us about scale, not just the physical scale that dwarfs our bodies, but the temporal scale that dwarfs our civilizations. All of recorded human history, from the first cities to the present day, is a thin sliver of time compared to the lifespan of a single one of these crystals. Our empires and eras would fit into a mere growth ring on their crystalline bodies, a fluctuation in the temperature of their bath. This is not meant to diminish our human experience, but to place it within a vaster, more tranquil frame. Our anxieties and triumphs are real, but they occur within a context of geological patience that can, if we let it, offer a deep and abiding solace. The cave also embodies a perfect balance of opposing forces, the intense heat from below and the solid rock above, the dissolving power of water and the precipitating power of saturation, the chaotic formation of the cavern, and the exquisite order of the crystals that filled it. It is a system that found its equilibrium and held it, producing not sterile sameness, but explosive, frozen beauty. It is a lesson in how stability can be the mother of extravagance. Now, as we mentally ascend from the depths, back towards the surface world of light and change, we do not leave the giants behind. We internalize their principle. We carry the image of that dark, hot, silent nursery as a mental sanctuary. In moments of chaos or haste, we can remember that beneath the surface of things, processes of immense calm and slow perfection are always at work. The earth itself knows how to be still, how to grow in darkness, how to create masterpieces over millennia without a single moment of rush. Let this be the gift of the giant crystal caves, a sense of participating in deep time. As you breathe, imagine each breath spanning a century in the cave's history. As your heart beats, let each pulse mark the deposition of a single, molecular layer on a growing crystal face. You are not separate from these slow rhythms. Your biology is simply a faster, warmer expression of the same universal tendencies towards order and cycle. As this chapter closes, the soundscape begins a gentle transformation. mirroring our ascent. The deep geothermal pulse slowly fades. The resonant drones from the crystals soften and stretch, becoming more ethereal, like the memory of a sound rather than the sound itself. The water drops become infrequent, then stop. What remains is the pure, shimmering aftermath, a high, crystalline haze that hangs in the auditory space. This haze is the sonic ghost of the cave's glory, the impression it leaves on the soul. It is not sad, it is complete. It is the sound of a story fully told, a process perfectly realized. It is the auditory equivalent of the soft, moonlight glow that clings to the selenite long after the lights have been switched off. Welcome to the chapter where light learns its true name. We have witnessed the birth of form in darkness and beheld its monumental scale. Now we turn to the most direct dialogue between the mineral world and our senses, color. This is not a story of paint or pigment, but of geological alchemy. It is the tale of how flawless, colorless crystal lattices, through the most delicate of imperfections, learn to sing in hue. We explore the royal palette of the earth itself, the contemplative purple of amethyst, the celestial blue of sapphire, the heart-centered green of emerald. This is where chemistry becomes poetry, and stones capture fragments of the sky, the sea, and the deep forest. Our journey begins with a paradox. Perfect purity is, in the realm of crystals, often colorless. A flawless diamond, a pure quartz crystal, rock crystal, a perfect corundum crystal, colorless sapphire. They are marvels of transparency, windows into the crystal's soul. But it is the intrusion, the guest, the imperfection that grants the gift of color. A crystal's color is a birthmark, a memory of the specific, often chaotic, conditions of its formation. It is beauty born from impurity. Let us start with the color of twilight and meditation, amethyst. At its heart, amethyst is simply quartz, silicon and oxygen in that perfect hexagonal lattice we learned of in the darkness. Its iconic purple comes from a trace amount of iron, Fe superscript 3, embedded within the crystal structure. But iron alone is not enough. The iron must also be exposed to natural, low-level radiation over millions of years from radioactive elements in the surrounding rock. This radiation subtly alters the iron's electronic environment, changing how it interacts with light. It absorbs the yellow and green portions of the visible spectrum, allowing the reds and blues to pass through and merge in our eyes as that serene, spiritual purple. The hue of an amethyst is a precise record of its history. Pale lilac speaks of less iron or a shorter exposure to radiation. Deep, royal purple whispers of abundant iron and an immensely long, quiet soak in the earth's gentle radioactive bath. The color is often distributed in zones, in phantom layers within the crystal, marking pulses of iron-rich fluid or changes in the radiation field during its growth. An amethyst geode is thus not a solid block of color, but a layered history of its chemical environment, a captured sunset built over epochs. Now, turn your inner eye to a blue as deep as a mountain lake at dusk, sapphire. Sapphire is another form of corundum, aluminum oxide, one of the hardest minerals. In its pure state, it is colorless. but introduce traces of titanium and iron, and the lattice captures the very essence of the sky. The interplay between these two elements causes a complex charge transfer, absorbing photons in the red, orange, and yellow wavelengths. What remains, what floods out of the crystal, is an intense, velvety blue. The exact shade, from a pale cornflower to a profound midnight, depends on the precise ratio of these tiny metallic guests. It is a color born from a metallic duet, a slow, geological harmony between iron and titanium played out over millions of years. As you begin to absorb these colors, let the soundscape reflect them. The violet tone in our sonic prism deepens, taking on a slightly smoky, mysterious quality. The blue tone becomes clearer, cooler, expansive. They are not just colors you see. They are frequencies you feel. Imagine the amethyst's purple as a slow, relaxing wave, calming the mind. Picture the sapphire's blue as a wide, open sky, promoting clarity and peace. The sound begins to wrap around you, not as noise, but as a colored atmosphere. These colors were not made for us. They are accidental masterpieces, side effects of complex geochemistry. Yet, for millennia, they have pulled at the human soul. We have ascribed to them power, nobility, and spiritual meaning. Perhaps, on a level deeper than culture, we recognize in them the signature of the Earth's patient, creative processes. We see in amethyst the tranquility of deep time, in sapphire the vastness of the heavens mirrored in the crust. Their beauty is a form of communication from the planet's interior, a wordless, radiant language. Now let us welcome the color of life itself, the shade of deep forests and tranquil springs, emerald. Here, the story of color takes a different turn. Emerald is a variety of the mineral beryl, a silicate of beryllium and aluminum. Its breathtaking green does not come from a simple trace metal like iron or titanium. It comes from chromium and sometimes vanadium. But unlike a guest merely visiting a stable house, chromium in emerald is a fundamental part of a dramatic and rare geological event. Emeralds are children of chaos and collision. They typically form where beryllium-rich pegmatites, the last, watery remnants of magma, intrude into chromium-rich rocks, like certain sapeninites or shales. This is a meeting of alien chemistries, a geological frontier. The beryllium, aluminum, and silicon from one world meet the chromium from another under intense heat and pressure. The chromium atoms, small and potent, slip into the beryl crystal lattice in place of aluminum. And there they perform their magic. They absorb the red and violet light with extraordinary efficiency, leaving a pure, radiant, and unmistakable green to dominate. This green is not a calm whisper like amethyst's purple. It is a vivid shout of chemical specificity. The presence of chromium is so defining that even a fraction of a percent can color an entire crystal. The intensity of an emerald's green is a direct measure of the violence of the geological encounter that created it. Flawless, deep green emeralds are among the rarest of gems because they require that perfect, fragile meeting of two dissimilar rock types, a meeting that often also creates fractures and inclusions. These internal gardens of flaws, known as jardin, French for garden, are not seen as defects by connoisseurs, but as proof of the stone's wild, organic origin. Each emerald is a captured moment of geological drama, frozen in a color that pulses with life. Let us broaden our palette. Consider citron, the sunny yellow to orange cousin of amethyst. Its color often comes from iron as well, but in a different state, phase superscript 3 in different sites, and without the radiation exposure. Or rose quartz, its gentle pink blush attributed to microscopic inclusions of gemordiorite or delicate distortions in its lattice from aluminum and phosphorus. Rhodochrosite blooms in bands of passionate pink from manganese. Malachite swirls with deep green bands from copper, telling stories of oxidizing or deposits. Each color is a chemical sentence, paragraph in the Earth's autobiography. A blue aquamarine, another beryl, gets its serene hue from phase superscript 2, a different iron than an amethyst, telling of a more reduced, oxygen-poor environment. The fiery red of a ruby, chromium and corundum again, but in a different crystal field environment than emerald, speaks of a similar but distinct alchemy. This brings us to a profound realization. The Earth's crust is not drab. Beneath the browns and grays of soil and stone lies a hidden spectrum of staggering intensity. These colors are not painted on the surface. They are baked into the atomic fabric of the minerals themselves. They are intrinsic, unchanging over human timescales, eternal as the lattice that holds them. A diamond may be forever, but an emerald's green is a permanent memory of a specific, ancient cataclysm. As we sit surrounded by these geological hues, the soundscape deepens to embody them. The green tone representing emerald rises to join the violet and blue. It is not a simple note. It is complex, organic, with a slight, warm vibration, the sonic signature of chromium's powerful light absorption. The three tones, violet, blue, green, now interact, creating harmonies and gentle dissonances that feel alive and nurturing. It is the sound of a hidden, colorful world breathing slowly. Imagine these colors not as static, but as energy fields. In many traditions, crystals are said to vibrate at specific frequencies. While esoteric, this metaphor has a root in physical truth. The electrons in these color-causing impurities do vibrate at specific frequencies when they absorb light. That absorbed light is the color we don't see. The color we see is the vibration that escapes, that is transmitted. So each colored crystal is, in a literal sense, a tiny resonator, filtering the white light of the world and broadcasting back a specific, pure frequency of color. They are silent tuning forks for light. Having met the individual colors, we now arrive at their most profound offering, their effect on us, the observers. Why do we feel a sense of calm gazing into an amethyst geode? Why does the deep blue of a sapphire feel expansive, and the vibrant green of an emerald feel renewing? While science speaks of wavelengths and photoreceptors, human experience speaks of emotion and resonance. This chapter is where geology meets psychology, where atomic imperfections touch the human soul. The power of color is not mere superstition. It is a deeply rooted, psychobiological reality. Our nervous system responds to different wavelengths of light in specific ways. Cooler colors like blues and violets are known to lower heart rate and blood pressure, promoting states of relaxation and mental clarity. They are the colors of distance, sky and twilight, inviting introspection and peace. The amethyst purple, sitting at the edge of the visible spectrum, has long been associated with spirituality and meditation precisely because it draws the mind inward, away from stimulating reds and yellows of daily life. The serene blue of sapphire and aquamarine evokes vastness, the depth of a clear sky, the stillness of a deep lake. It creates a perceptual space for the mind to rest, reducing feelings of anxiety and fostering a sense of trust and tranquility. It is the color of a deep, slow breath. In contrast, the green of emerald and malachite is the color of the living world. It is associated with growth, balance, and restoration. Green light requires the least adjustment from our eyes, making it inherently restful. It symbolizes harmony and the heart of nature, a soothing, regenerative force. When we look at an emerald, we are not just seeing chromium. We are seeing the essence of a forest captured in stone, an echo of life's vitality forged under immense pressure. These colored crystals, then, become natural anchors for these states of being. They are not magical in the literal sense, but they are focusing tools. They are unchanging. Intense color provides a stable point for the wandering mind. In meditation, holding the intention of peace while gazing into a deep blue sapphire can help solidify that state, using the stone's physical property as a gateway for a mental one. The crystal becomes a partner in stillness, its million-year-old calm subtly influencing our minute-old intention. Furthermore, the very process of their formation mirrors the emotional qualities we attribute to them. Amethyst's purple, born from patient radiation over eons, embodies gradual transformation. Sapphire's blue, born from a stable metallic partnership, speaks of enduring harmony. Emerald's green, born from violent geological meetings, represents growth through challenge. We unconsciously recognize these stories in their hues. Now imagine a stream where all these colors gather. Picture a specimen of tourmaline, a single crystal that can contain a rainbow of colors in concentric layers, or from tip to tip, watermelon tourmaline. It is a geological diary, each color band marking a change in chemistry during its growth, a record of the fluid's evolving personality. Or consider opal, which lacks a crystalline structure, but plays with light through microscopic silica spheres, diffracting it into a shifting fire of all colors. It is the crystal that embraces chaos and turns it into a fleeting, dreamlike spectrum. These stones remind us that the Earth's palette is not just pure tones, but also gradients, blends, and playful miracles. As we immerse ourselves in this full spectrum, the soundscape evolves to match. The three distinct tones, violet, blue, green, begin to soften their edges, blending into one another like watercolors. New, subtler tones emerge, a soft golden yellow citron, a warm rose pink, an earthy copper hue. They do not dominate, but weave through the primary chord, enriching it. The sound becomes less like separate notes and more like a slowly shifting, luminous cloud of harmonic color. It is immersive and deeply tranquil, a bath for the mind's eye. This is the gift of Earth's colors. They offer a visual sanctuary. In a world saturated with artificial, often harsh hues, the colors of minerals are inherently natural, balanced, and formed in silence over unimaginable time. They carry the weight and serenity of their origin. To spend time with them is to temporarily align our frantic human rhythm with the slow, colorful pulse of the planet itself. We have journeyed through the atomic origins of color and felt its emotional resonance. Now we arrive at a point of synthesis where the colored crystal ceases to be an external object and becomes a metaphor for our own inner landscape. The final lesson of the Earth's palette is one of integration and inner light. Consider this. A perfect, colorless crystal lattice represents pure potential, the unmanifested self. The impurities, the iron, chromium, titanium, are the flaws, the experiences, the traumas, the unique conditions of our own formation. And yet, it is precisely these imperfections that give rise to our character, our depth, our unique color in the world. Without them, we might be flawless, but we would also be transparent, without distinctive hue or story. The amethyst teaches us that what we perceive as damage, exposure to radiation, can, over time and with patience, produce breathtaking beauty and spiritual depth. The emerald shows us that fierce collisions between different parts of our world can generate the most vibrant life force. The stable, eternal nature of these colors offers a profound comfort. Our emotions are fleeting, our thoughts changeable. But the violet of an amethyst is unchanging. It has held its hue for millions of years and will hold it for millions more. In moments of turmoil, this permanence can be an anchor. It is a visual promise that beneath the surface chaos of existence, there is an order, a beauty, and a stability that operates on a different time scale. Aligning with it, even for a moment, can bring peace. Now, let us close our eyes to the external colors and imagine generating them from within. Visualize a point of pure, white light in your center, the clear quartz of your spirit. Then, with each breath, invite a color to bloom from that light, not as a stain, but as a gentle emission. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, imagine a soft, soothing violet light radiating from your center, calming your mind, quieting the mental chatter. This is your inner amethyst, your connection to patience and deep time. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, imagine a clear, expansive blue light filling your chest, creating space, easing anxiety, bringing clarity. This is your inner sapphire, your link to truth and serene wisdom. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, imagine a vibrant, healing green light pulsing from your heart, restoring balance, nurturing compassion, connecting you to all living things. This is your inner emerald, your wellspring of growth and renewal. You are not just an observer of the earth's jewels. You contain their principles. You have the capacity for the deep transformation of amethyst, the stable harmony of sapphire, and the resilient vitality of emerald. The crystals are mirrors, reminding us of the brilliant, colorful, and enduring aspects of our own nature that are often buried under the dust of daily life. As this chapter on color concludes, we carry forward not just knowledge, but a felt sense of this chromatic piece. The soundscape, which has been our guide through the spectrum, begins its final transformation. The lush, shifting cloud of harmonic color starts to gently coalesce. The individual tones don't disappear, but they soften and begin to blend back towards their source. The golden yellows, rose pinks, and earthy hues gently fade first, leaving the core triad of violet, blue, and green. These three tones then begin to merge, their unique vibrations slowing and harmonizing into a new, singular tone. It is not the white light from the beginning, but something richer, a warm, luminous, pearlescent gray, like the first light of dawn or the inside of a seashell. It is the sound of all colors integrated, remembered, and at rest. Welcome to the kingdom of hidden worlds. We have marveled at giants and been bathed in color. Now we turn to a more intimate, more surprising magic, the art of concealment. This is the story of the geode, the ultimate lesson that the most extraordinary beauty is often cloaked in the guise of the mundane, and of inclusions, the tiny, imprisoned universes within crystals. Here, time doesn't just pass. It is captured, bottled, and frozen in breathtaking stasis. Our journey begins not in a majestic cave, but on a nondescript hillside. Underfoot are rounded, bumpy stones, often dull brown or gray, weathered by wind and rain. They look like any other rock. They are heavy, unassuming, forgettable. This is their disguise. For within the unremarkable shell of a geode lies one of geology's most delightful secrets, a hidden cavity lined with crystals, a private jewel box created by the earth. How does such a paradox form? The story varies, but a classic tale involves a bubble in volcanic rock. Imagine molten rock, frothy with gas. As it cools and solidifies into basalt or rhyolite, gas bubbles become trapped, creating hollows. Later, over millions of years, mineral-rich groundwater percolates through the rock. It seeps into these hollows, carrying dissolved silica, quartz, amethyst, calcite, or celestite in solution. Inside the protected chamber, away from the crushing pressure of the surrounding rock, conditions become perfect for slow, undisturbed crystallization. The crystals grow inward from the walls of the cavity, pointing towards the center. They are free to form beautiful, terminated points because they grow into open space, competing only with each other for the mineral soup. They create a druzy lining, a sparkling carpet of tiny crystal points, or sometimes larger, spectacular individual crystals. The outer shell hardens into a tough, protective rind, often made of a different, denser mineral like chalcedony. The ordinary exterior becomes a perfect vault, guarding the glittering treasure within. But the true magic of a geode is not just the crystals, it is the void they surround. That empty space, or sometimes space now filled with later mineral deposits, is a fossilized pocket of negative space, a perfect mold of the bubble from the ancient lava flow. It is a memory of a moment of volcanic exhalation, preserved for eons. When you hold a geode, you are holding a cast of a breath taken by the earth 100 million years ago. Now, let us look even closer, beyond the cavity, into the crystals themselves. Within the perfect lattice of a crystal, flaws are not always flaws. Sometimes they are windows. Inclusions are tiny parcels of the crystal's birth environment that were trapped during its growth. A drop of the hydrothermal fluid from which it formed, a bubble of gas, a grain of another mineral, like a speck of rutile creating silk in a sapphire, or a crystal of pyrite inside quartz. These are not mistakes. They are time capsules that a fluid inclusion is perhaps the most astonishing. Under a microscope, tiny, sealed cavity within a quartz crystal might reveal a moving bubble, a two-phase inclusion of liquid and gas that has been trapped since the crystal formed, tens or hundreds of millions of years ago. That fluid is the actual water, with its original chemical signature, from the deep crust of a vanished world. It is a sip of ancient sea, a drop of primordial juice, perfectly preserved by the crystal that grew around it. The crystal is not just a mineral. It is a prison for a moment of geological time. As you begin to contemplate this hiddenness, let the soundscape transform. The dry, windswept plain sound fades away, replaced by the contained, resonant hum from within the geode. It is a warm, multi-layered sound, suggesting many tiny points vibrating in enclosed space. Occasionally, clear, high-ping echoes, the sound of a perfectly formed crystal point within. The atmosphere becomes one of focused secrecy, of immense beauty held in perfect suspension within a plain shell. To truly appreciate a geode, one must understand the patient siege that creates it. The mineral-laden water does not flood the cavity in a single event. It trickles. It seeps. Over millennia, the concentration of silica or calcite in the water fluctuates. Each fluctuation is recorded in the crystal growth. You can sometimes see this in banded agate geodes, concentric rings of different colors or clarity, like tree rings, each layer representing a change in the chemical composition of the groundwater, an ancient climate shift translated into stone. The geode becomes a geological scroll, its pages written in layers of cryptocrystalline quartz. The crystals lining the cavity are the final, glorious chapter of this slow story. They often represent a shift in conditions. Perhaps the water became purer, or the temperature dropped slightly, allowing larger, more perfect crystals to form instead of the dense, layered chalcedony. The transition from the rough, protective shell to the glittering interior is a narrative of environmental change, a plot twist written in chemistry and revealed only when the rock is split open. Now, let us dive deeper into the world of inclusions, the microgeodes within crystals. These are not always accidental. Some inclusions are so precise they are diagnostic, like a fingerprint. The horsetail inclusions in demantoid garnet, fine, golden threads of chrysotile, are proof of its origin. The treacly silk in some sapphires points to specific metamorphic conditions. The crystal uses these trapped fragments as a kind of memory, a built-in certificate of authenticity from the earth. More extraordinary are the inclusions that capture life, or its echoes. Amber is the ultimate example. Not a mineral, but a fossilized resin that can trap insects, plants, or even feathers from the age of dinosaurs, preserving them in microscopic, golden perfection. But even within true crystals, one can find fossil inclusions, a tiny shell, a strand of ancient bacteria mineralized and encased in growing quartz. Here, the biological and mineralogical timelines intersect. A creature that lived and died in a shallow Silurian sea is now a permanent guest in a crystal that formed deep in the crust millions of years later, a geological Russian doll of time. Then there are the inclusions that create phenomena. The star in a star sapphire or ruby, asterism, is caused by needle-like inclusions of rutile aligned along the crystal's internal symmetry, scattering light into a six-rayed star. The cat's eye effect, chatoyancy, in chrysoberyl comes from parallel fibers or tubes. These flaws don't diminish the gem's value. They elevate it into the realm of the optical miraculous. The inclusion becomes the artist, and the crystal its canvas. This teaches us a radical redefinition of purity. In the gemological sense, a flawless stone is one without inclusions visible under 10x magnification. But from the Earth's perspective, the most fascinating, storied, and unique stones are often those with inclusions. They are the ones with a biography. A completely clear, inclusion-free crystal is like a blank page, beautiful in its potential, but silent. An included crystal is a page filled with an epic poem in a microscopic language. It has lived a more complex life. As we ponder these captured moments, the soundscape evolves to mirror this layered complexity. The resonant hum from the geode's cavity develops subtle rhythmic pulses, like the slow, episodic arrival of mineral-rich fluid over centuries. The sound of shifting fluid inclusions becomes more varied. Some sounds are thick and viscous, others lighter and more aqueous, representing different trapped fluids. Faint, crystalline crackles and pops are heard, the sonic imagination of microscopic rutile needles forming, or a gas bubble being sealed away forever. The overall feeling is one of profound, intricate preservation. It is the sound of secrets within secrets, worlds within worlds. It feels ancient, private, and immensely precious. The philosophy of the geode and the inclusion is, at its core, a lesson about perception and value. It challenges our tendency to judge by the surface, to dismiss the plain and the flawed. The geode is the ultimate symbol of this. The greatest treasure is hidden within the most unassuming package. It is a physical metaphor for the idea that depth, beauty, and complexity often lie concealed beneath a simple or rugged exterior. This principle applies beyond geology. It invites us to reconsider our own judgments of people, of situations, of ourselves. What rough, uninteresting shells do we carry that protect the hidden, crystalline interior we rarely show? What perceived flaws in our own character might actually be unique inclusions, the very features that give us our distinctive asterism or story? The geode teaches patience and the value of looking deeper, of being willing to listen for the quiet hum within the ordinary stone. Inclusions, especially, reframe the idea of imperfection. In a culture obsessed with flawless perfection, crystals whisper an older, wiser truth, that the most interesting and valuable things are often marked by their history. A scar is a record of survival. A unique inclusion is a signature of a one-of-a-kind journey through time and pressure. When we learn to see inclusions not as defects, but as diaries, we begin to appreciate a deeper, more narrative form of beauty, one that speaks of resilience, adaptation, and a unique passage through the world. Now, let's explore the ultimate frozen time capsule in hydroquartz. This is a quartz crystal that contains a movable bubble of water trapped inside, a fluid inclusion that still has room to move. This is an ancient water that has partially evaporated, leaving a vacuum. This is a sealed pouch of the original fluid. When you tilt the crystal, you can see the bubble slowly glide through its tiny chamber. You are literally holding a drop of water that has not seen the light of day for tens of millions of years, a drop that was present during the age of dinosaurs, now cradled in a clear, solid prison. The act of tilting it connects your movement, your present moment, directly to that deep past. It is one of the most intimate handshakes with deep time a person can experience. Similarly, some gems contain hollow tubes or negative crystals, cavities within the crystal that are perfect mirror images of the crystal's own external shape, but empty. These are ghosts of crystals that dissolved or spaces that were never filled. They are voids with geometry, absences that define presence. They remind us that space itself, the emptiness within the lattice, is a fundamental part of the structure. As we sit with these ideas, the soundscape deepens to reflect this philosophical turn. The sounds of the geode's interior and the fluid inclusions begin to feel less like random events and more like a conscious, slow communication. The pulses become more rhythmic, almost like a coded message from the past. The shifting fluids sound like whispers in a language we can almost, but not quite, understand. The language of chemistry and time. The high, clear pings of perfect crystal points now sound like deliberate punctuation in this slow story. This sonic environment is the opposite of overwhelming. It is focusing. It draws the listener inward, much like the geode draws one's gaze inward to its hidden center. It creates a sense of being both the observer and the cavity, the self that contains hidden wonders. The sound encourages introspection, a gentle exploration of one's own internal inclusions, memories, and protected spaces. We arrive now at the final, integrative understanding of the geode and the inclusion. They are not merely curiosities. They are profound models of existence. The geode models the universe itself, a seemingly solid, impenetrable exterior, space-time, containing vast, sparkling, complex structures within galaxies, stars, life. The inclusion models the individual, a unique, patterned entity, the crystal, that contains within it captured pieces of its entire history, the trapped fluid, the foreign mineral, the fossil. We are all walking geodes. We are all included crystals. The act of cracking open a geode is a powerful allegory for revelation, for insight, for the moment of understanding that comes from looking beneath the surface. That decisive crack is the sound of a paradigm shifting, of a secret being revealed. But the earth itself does not crack its own geodes open. It is content to let them sleep. The revelation is for us, the temporary, curious inhabitants of the surface. The geode's beauty exists perfectly, whether it is seen or not. Its value is intrinsic, not contingent on witness. This, too, is a lesson. Our own hidden depths have value regardless of whether they are ever displayed or applauded. The frozen time within inclusions offers a different solace. In a world of relentless change and flow, the idea that a moment, a drop of water, a bubble of gas, a fragment of a long-dead creature, can be perfectly preserved for 100 million years is strangely comforting. It means that nothing is ever truly lost. It is merely transformed, translated, included into a more enduring form. Our memories, our experiences, our losses, they are the fluid inclusions of our soul. They move within us. They shape our light. They are part of our structure, but they are contained. They do not leak away. They are a permanent part of the crystalline being we are becoming. As we prepare to close this chapter on hidden worlds, we carry forward a new way of seeing, an inclusive gaze. This is the ability to look at a plain, weathered stone, and know it may hold a universe of crystal points inside. To look at a clear gem and wonder about the tiny, trapped worlds within it. To look at a person or at ourselves and perceive not a smooth, flawless surface, but a rich, complex, and beautifully included history that gives us depth, color, and character. Let this inclusive gaze soften your mind. There's nothing in this world, no object, no person, no moment, that is merely what it appears to be on the surface. Everything is a geode. Everything contains inclusions of its past. Everything holds frozen time within it. Recognizing this connects us to the deep, patient, secretive heart of reality. Now, as we conclude, the soundscape begins its final metamorphosis. The rhythmic pulses from the geode's memory slow and soften. The whispers of the shifting fluids grow still, as if the trapped drops have found perfect, peaceful equilibrium. The high, clear pings of crystal points become rare, then cease. What remains is the warm, resonant hum of the cavity itself, the sound of empty space that is somehow full of potential. This hum gently begins to simplify. It loses its complex harmonics, becoming a purer, simpler tone. It is the sound of the idea of the geode, stripped of its specific contents. Then, this tone itself starts to fade in volume, not to silence, but to a subtle vibration that merges with your own sense of internal space. The boundary between the imagined geode and the cavity of your own mindful awareness dissolves. You are the geode. You contain hidden wonders. You hold frozen time in your memories. You are both the protective shell and the glittering interior, and you are whole. Welcome to the final resonance. We have journeyed from the atomic birth of order, through monumental scales, radiant colors, and hidden worlds. Now we arrive at the most subtle and pervasive truth of the crystal kingdom. It is not silent. It is alive with a silent song. This is the story of vibration, of the hidden pulse within the seemingly static stone. It is the tale of quartz, the master timekeeper, and of the piezoelectric heartbeat that connects the mineral world to energy, to information, and to the very rhythm of the universe itself. Our guide for this final chapter is quartz, silicon dioxide, the very same mineral whose birth and darkness we witnessed first. But here, we meet it not as a passive form, but as an active participant in the flow of energy. Quartz possesses a remarkable property, piezoelectricity, from the Greek piezein, meaning to press. When mechanical stress is applied to a quartz crystal, when it is squeezed, struck, or bent, it generates a small electrical voltage across its structure. Conversely, when an electrical voltage is applied to it, it physically vibrates at an extremely precise frequency. It is a translator between the world of force and the world of charge, a mediator between the physical and the energetic. This is not magic, it is geometry in action. The quartz crystal lattice is asymmetrical. When deformed, the positions of the silicon and oxygen atoms shift in such a way that the centers of positive and negative charge separate, creating a voltage. It's a tiny, elegant dance of the atomic structure, a direct conversion of motion into electricity and back again. This property makes quartz not just a pretty stone, but the technological heartbeat of our modern world. Inside every quartz clock, watch, and computer, a tiny, meticulously cut slice of crystal, a quartz oscillator, vibrates tens of thousands of times per second when fed with electricity. An electronic circuit counts these vibrations. 32,768 vibrations equal 1 second. This staggering precision, derived from the unchanging lattice of a crystal grown over millennia, is what divides our chaotic human experience into measurable, ticking moments. The crystal, a product of deep geological time, becomes the arbiter of human time. It is the Earth's gift of rhythm to our race. But let us think bigger. This piezoelectric property is a form of conversation. The crystal responds to pressure. It listens to the force of the world, the step of a foot, the pulse of a sound wave, the pressure of deep tectonic shifts, and answers with the spark of electricity. In a very literal sense, quartz crystals are transducers, turning the mechanical language of the earth into the electrical language of energy. They are natural listeners, natural speakers in a dialogue between matter and force that has been ongoing since their formation. As you settle into this concept, let the soundscape deepen. The foundational 432 Hz tone remains, a symbol of pure, stable vibration. But now around it, very subtle, rapid, and precise ticking begins, not the sound of a clock, but the sonic imagination of trillions of atomic bonds in a quartz lattice vibrating in perfect unison. It is a soft, hyperregular shimmering in the upper registers, a whisper of unimaginable constancy. It is the sound of time itself being generated from structure. The piezoelectric pulse of quartz is more than a technological trick. It is a metaphor for a fundamental principle of the universe, resonance. Everything vibrates, from the orbiting electrons in an atom to the spinning of galaxies. Existence is the spectrum of oscillation. A crystal, with its fixed, repeating lattice, acts like a perfect tuning fork for specific frequencies. It doesn't create vibration out of nothing. It filters, amplifies, and stabilizes the vibrations that already flow through the fabric of reality. This leads us to a profound, almost mystical intersection of science and intuition. For centuries, cultures around the world have attributed healing, energizing, or clarifying properties to crystals. While the mechanisms are not understood by modern science in the way we understand a clock, the piezoelectric principle offers a plausible physical bridge. If crystals can convert mechanical energy to electrical energy, and vice versa, is it so far-fetched that they might interact with the subtle electromagnetic fields of living organisms, with our own bioelectricity, the nerve impulses, the rhythmic charges of our heart and brain? The crystal becomes a potential stabilizer, a subtle tuning device for our own complex, often discordant, biological vibrations. Think of holding a clear quartz point. Your body is warm, pulsating with electricity and subtle heat. The crystal's stable lattice, vibrating at its own inherent frequency, might act as a reference point, a calm center in an energetic storm. This is not about magic spells, but about harmonic influence. Just as a loud, pure tuning fork can cause a silent one of the same pitch to begin humming, sympathetic vibration, a crystal with a strong, stable structure may encourage coherence in the less stable energy fields around it. It's a silent invitation to order. Now consider the broader crystal kingdom. Each mineral, with its unique lattice structure and composition, has its own resonant signature. Amethyst, quartz with iron, might vibrate differently than pure quartz. The dense, cubic lattice of pyrite resonates differently than the hexagonal lattice of emerald. This is the theoretical basis for attributing different properties to different stones. Their color is the light they emit. Their energy could be thought of as the specific vibrational frequency of their atomic structure, a frequency that may interact with our own in subtle, supportive ways. But let's return from the speculative to the concrete, to the sheer wonder of the phenomenon itself. Deep in the earth, quartz veins are constantly subjected to pressure from shifting tectonic plates. With every microtremor, every groan of the crust, these crystals are generating tiny, unfelt piezoelectric currents. The earth is literally playing its quartz deposits like an instrument, generating a symphony of ultra-low frequency electrical whispers that we are only beginning to detect. The planet has a crystalline nervous system. As you integrate this idea of a silently humming, electrically responsive Earth, the soundscape evolves. The precise, rapid shimmering of the quartz oscillator begins to slow and deepen. It transforms from a high-frequency tick into a slower, more resonant, wave-like pattern. It begins to pulse in time with the foundational 432 Hz tone, but at a much slower rhythm, perhaps once every 10 seconds. This new pulse feels geological, like the heartbeat of the planet itself, powered by the piezoelectric response of its deep crystalline bones. The sound becomes less technological and more organic, vital, steady throbbing in the dark. This planetary pulse leads us to the most intimate application of the crystal's vibration, its potential to mirror and influence our own inner rhythm. Our bodies are not static. Our hearts beat. Our brains wave. Our cells communicate with electrical impulses. We are, in essence, complex, wet, biological oscillations. When we are stressed, anxious, or scattered, these rhythms can become erratic, dissonant, a chaotic symphony. The purported calming effect of holding a crystal, of meditating with it, may lie in this concept of entrainment. Entrainment is the process where two oscillating systems fall into sync. The most familiar example is the phenomenon of pendulum clocks on the same wall eventually swinging in unison, or women living together whose menstrual cycles align. It is a fundamental tendency of the universe towards rhythmic harmony. A crystal, with its exceptionally stable and precise atomic vibration, can act as a powerful, passive entrainment source. By placing our attention on it, by holding it, we are subtly exposing our own variable biological rhythms to an anchor of extreme stability. The chaotic mind, given a steady pulse to focus on, can begin to slow, to simplify, to find its own coherent rhythm again. The crystal doesn't do anything active. It simply is, with such perfect, rhythmic being that it encourages everything around it to remember its own natural state of balance. This is where the sleep story format and the crystal's vibration achieve perfect synergy. The slow, measured narration, the ambient soundscapes tuned to soothing frequencies, they are all forms of entrainment for your nervous system. Adding the concept of the crystal's eternal vibration amplifies this effect on the level of imagination and belief. You are not just listening to a story about rocks. You are aligning your consciousness with the story of the most stable, ancient, and rhythmically perfect objects on Earth. Now, let's expand our view beyond Earth. Quartz and other crystalline structures are not unique to our planet. They are found in meteorites. They are theorized to exist in the mantles of other rocky worlds, and they likely form in the cooling clouds of distant star systems. The piezoelectric principle is a universal physical law. This means the silent song of crystals, this translation of force into charge and structure into rhythm, is a cosmic phenomenon. The galaxy itself may hum with the piezoelectric whispers of crystalline asteroids, the vibrational memory of ancient stellar explosions frozen into mineral form. We are tuning into a frequency that is literally universal. As we approach the culmination of our series, we must synthesize all we have learned. The crystal's birth in darkness gave it form. Its growth to giant scales gave it presence. Its impurities gave it color and character. Its inclusions gave it memory and story. And now we see that its atomic lattice gives it a voice, a silent, eternal vibration that connects it to energy, to time, to the planet, and to us. The crystal is no longer just an object. It is a process, a record, and a resonator. It is a complete metaphor for a life well lived, formed under pressure, growing with patience, colored by experience, holding its history within, and ultimately vibrating in harmony with the deeper laws of the universe. The soundscape now moves to reflect this synthesis. The slow, geological pulse begins to align perfectly with the rhythm of your own breath. The foundational 432 Hz tone softens, becoming less a separate sound and more the harmonic bed from which everything else arises. The crystalline shimmer transforms into something resembling the gentle, sparkling afterimage of the colors from Chapter 3, a visual memory translated into sound. All the elements, the deep birth hum, the watery drips of caves, the colored chords, the secret geode resonance, are now subtly present within this unified vibrational field. It is the sonic signature of the complete crystal. We have reached the final point of stillness within the vibration. The journey from formless chaos to silent, resonant order is complete. The crystal has taught us its entire arc, from a single atom aligning in the dark to a being that hums in tune with the forces of the cosmos. Now it is time to turn the lesson inward, to become the crystal. The ultimate truth revealed by the eternal vibration is not about the mineral, but about the nature of existence itself. Stability is not stillness. True stability is dynamic. It is a perfect, unwavering oscillation, like the vibration of a quartz lattice or the orbit of a planet. Peace is not the absence of rhythm, but the presence of a harmonious one. Our search for calm is not a search for dead silence, but for our own fundamental, healthy frequency, the rhythm at which we are meant to pulse, think, love, and rest. The crystal, in its perfection, shows us that this frequency is found through structure, through patience, and through integrity. Its lattice provides the structure. Its million-year growth provides the patience. Its unwavering response to pressure and charge demonstrates integrity. It is always, reliably itself. We can aspire to the same, to build a stable internal structure through mindful practice, to grow our character with patient self-compassion, and to act with integrity, responding to the pressures of life not by shattering, but by generating our own subtle, transformative energy. As this series concludes, let the final soundscape guide you into a state of resonant alignment, the rich, synthesized tapestry of sounds, representing birth, scale, color, secret worlds, and vibration, begins a gentle, gracious dissolution. It does not end abruptly, but each element softly says farewell, returning to the source. First, the memory of color, the sparkling shimmer, fades, leaving gratitude for beauty. Then, the secret geode resonance softens, leaving the wisdom of hidden depth. The slow, geological pulse slows further, merging completely with the rhythm of your own heartbeat. The foundational tone, the 432 Hz sine wave, holds for a moment longer, a pure, clear note of being. And then, it too begins a slow, descending glide. As it glides down in pitch, it feels as if it is not disappearing, but sinking into the very fabric of your awareness, moving from your ears to your bones, from your bones to the core of your being. The frequency lowers until it is below hearing, becoming a felt vibration, a hum in your cells. This subsonic hum is the final gift. It is the internalization of the crystal's eternal vibration. It is no longer an external sound to listen to. It is your own resonant field, stabilized and calm. You are not holding the crystal. You have become the crystal. Your body is the lattice. Your breath is the pulse. Your consciousness is the clear, quiet space within the geode. Hold this feeling. You are a being of ordered light, grown slowly through time, colored by experience, holding your history with grace, and vibrating in quiet harmony with an oscillating universe. This is your natural state. The crystal was merely the mirror. The series is over. The story is told. The vibration continues forever within the heart of the planet and now within you. Good night.